Hello my YouTube friends, I'm Tech here with another tutorial. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I'm way too lazy to click on buttons while I'm streaming, and if you want your stream to feel high production without actually doing any work, you need to meet OBS Studio WebSocket Protocol 5.0. Think of a WebSocket as a translator that lives inside OBS. It lets your phone or tablet to communicate with your stream in real time. Even your smart lights can talk to OBS Studio in real time using this technique. Since version 28, OBS Studio moved to Protocol 5.0, which is basically the supercharged built-in version that actually works without crashing your entire streaming setup. So the benefits are clear. There's zero lag, total automation, and honestly, it just makes you look like pro without having to type anything to switch your scenes or unmute your audio scenes. So whether you are triggering a goal or changing the scenes from your kitchen, uh, 5.0 makes it happen instantly. So no more junky workarounds. And you can use your old phone to trigger all these scene changes. And of course, there are a lot of things you can do in OBS Studio, and this is some basic deck that I put together where I can switch scenes and mute or unmute my audio sources. And this is what we are going to build today. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what this protocol is, how to flip the switch in OBS Studio to get it running, and a few ways to use it to make it so your viewers will think that you have an entire production crew in your closet. So let's get into it. But before we go into the code, I just want to present you some base stuff related to WebSockets. Basically, the WebSocket is a connection between an external application or a website with your OBS Studio. So that means remote control. It works with Opcodes. Opcodes means operational code. With these codes, you can request data, or OBS Studio can communicate with your interface. Basically, you are listening to some events and you can trigger things in your interface. There are 7 OP codes in OBS Studio. You have the OP codes for um, handshake, you have the OP codes for sending the commands, for reading the commands, and of course for the entire life cycle um, of your application. And the flow is as follows. Let me jump. You have to remember this order. This is probably the most important thing you need to know when you create a WebSocket connection to OBS Studio. So the order is 1, 2, 0, 1, and 2. These are the OP codes for identification, for handshake, and this tells our client that we are connected to OBS Studio. Then for the lifecycle, we have 6 and 7. 6 means request something. 7 means uh, I received your request. Here's the data from OBS Studio that you can use in your interface. And 5, it's a two-way connection that goes in both ways. Basically, OBS Studio sends you some commands, and you send back to OBS Studio that you acquired that commands and you were able to use them. So that's pretty much it that you need to know in terms of uh, theoretical aspects related to the WebSocket. And we can now jump into creating the actual doc. For that, I'm just opening up my Visual Code, and I'm going to create a new index.html. It's that simple. We just work with an HTML and we write some JavaScript code. Of course, for the beginning, we need the doc type. Oh, come on. I forgot I don't have auto completion here. So doc type HTML. Okay, let's save this. We need the HTML language, English. Okay. Yeah. Here I will be using the cryptography JavaScript to build the authentication strings for OBS Studio. I'll just copy paste it. Okay, this will be used later on to encrypt the password that we send to OBS Studio in order to receive the handshake. And I can start building my layout. Okay. For the body, let's just create a box, class box. In this box, I want to keep the current connection information. So I will need a status. And let's just give it the default status span ID status. We are giving an ID because we want to be able to toggle this status based on what we received from the WebSocket connection. And by default, let's just make it disconnected. I won't be going really deep into keeping the connection alive every time you open the application, but that can be done as well, so no problem. Let's set the current scene. Again, we are giving the ID because I want to be able to update this. So we get the current scene. By default, let's just draw there some dots. Now let's actually here I want a button. ID will be connect btn. Once I click this button, we are just going to send the connection request to OBS Studio. And I need two more buttons. I need a disconnect one. And okay, disconnect. And I need a refresh button. I won't be really using this one, but it's nice to be there just in case we have some issues later on after we are connected. If something breaks, we just refresh everything. Cool. Now I need another box. And here I will be listing all my scenes. So, and here ID equals scenes. And we're just giving a class row because I want to create a row of them later on once I'm styling it. Now we need the same thing, so I just copy paste this. But here I'm going to list all my audio sources. And of course, I'll be changing the ID to audio. Okay. And I also need to see the logs for my actions. So I'll just create another one. I'll just call it logs. Sweet. And now, because I want to test it on my phone, I just create a new terminal. I will be using PHP to launch a local web server. So PHP -s 000080. Okay. And now, if I take my phone and go to the URL, as you can see, I already have the, oops, let me just make this bigger. I already have my buttons here and all the informations I need. So I can just wire up the script. Okay, let's just put this here. Now we can go into building the actual script. So here, let's open up a script tag and close it. Now I need to define some constants because I don't really feel like adding my IP and my password over and over again. So I'll just call it OBS URL, and this is equal to VS. I'm not going to use the secured WebSocket because OBS Studio will have to do a TLS handshake, and you're probably going to end up not being able to connect. Now, at this point, we can just jump into OBS Studio under Tools and WebSocket Server Settings. This is where we enable the WebSocket server in OBS Studio. By default, when we install OBS Studio, this WebSocket server will be disabled. So all you have to do is clicking on it. Easy, isn't it? Then you have all the connection informations right here. So I will be copying my IP and the port 4455. Okay. Now I'll just copy the password as well and create a new constant. OBS password equals my password. Okay, and we also need a subscription. So event subscriptions equals 2047. Okay, now that we have the environment set up, let's initialize the WebSocket object. So let WebSocket equals null for now. We need a is ready. This is Boolean, so false by default. Then we need the request ID. Request ID equals 1, because this is our initial request, and a constant for our pending request. This is going to be a map. So pending requests equal new map. This we are going to store all the requests. Now, because I want to show the current scene, I will also define a variable for it. So let current scene equals nothing for now. Let scenes. Here I will be storing my scenes from OBS Studio. And I also need audio inputs array. Actually, I think it would be better to just make a map for it. There we go. Now, if you remember, we defined some elements here. And if I go here, let's get the actual elements so we can use them in our script. So constant status element equals document dot get element by ID, and we get the element with ID status. Now we have 5 elements that we need here. Next one, it's current scene element, which is current scene. Current scene, okay. Then scenes element. Here we are going to build the array of the buttons for toggling the scenes. Then we need the audio element. Here we are going to build the buttons for the audio elements, and of course the logs element. Log element, that's log. Let's just rename it here to log as well. Okay, now that we have these elements, I will be wiring the buttons. By defining the buttons, we are also going to wire some methods, and this will be the main methods. We need a function connect OBS. Then we need a disconnect, of course. So disconnect OBS and the refresh all method. Okay, now that I have these functions, let's wire them to the buttons. So document get element by ID, connect btn, add event listener for our click, and we need to connect to OBS here. Now let's just duplicate this. And for disconnect, we are wiring the disconnect function. And for refresh btn, we are going to wire the refresh all. Okay, so we have the basics now, but we need some more functions. But right now, let's just let's wire up the connect to OBS first. And for this, I previously mentioned that I will need some connection strings. For that, I will just copy paste the functions from the protocol 5.0 documentation, and using the cryptography, let's just make here some helpers section. and I will paste my helpers right here, and then I can start building on my connect OBS um, connect OBS method here. There we go. So first of all, we need to check if our WebSocket isn't already created. So if vs and vs.readyState equals WebSocket.open, or vs.readyState equals uh, WebSocket.connecting. Then we are going to console log already connected or connected. So basically we are we short circuit here if we already have a connection, if we have a connection established or an ongoing one. And for this, let's create a new helper that will log these messages, not just show them in the console. So function log, let's say message. I need a time local date string, and we have the logs element, so we are just appending the text here. So log element dot text content equals let's say time and message. Okay, and since we are prepending the text, then we need, let's move the cursor to log element. So scroll top equals log element dot scroll height. Okay, so now we have the log helper, so we can store our logs directly into our log box here. Okay, now let's go back to our OBS connection. What I want to do first, I want to create the WebSocket connection. So vs dot, actually no, vs equals new WebSocket, and here we're just adding our OBS URL. Okay, now let's add an event listener. Add event listener on open. This is log WebSocket. Okay, and now if I check my phone, refresh the page, basically here when I click connect, at least I need to have an arrow. So basically here, let me see if you can see. Okay, if I hit connect, nothing happens. Okay, let's see what's wrong. And I will actually open this in my browser. Let me grab the IP. So okay, remove this here, and let's just grab this. Okay, when I hit connect, no reading ready state. Okay, let's see why we have that error. So we have the connection button. Okay, because we don't have anything there, the object is null and is failing here. Let's save this, and now if I click connect, it should at least try to create the connection. Okay, so we have the WebSocket opened. Now I may need to create a clear data or something, because I don't understand why. That's weird. Let's just create a clear data helper. So function clear data. And basically here, what I want is to say is ready equals false. Pending requests clear. Okay, since empty, audio inputs clear. That's it for now, I think. And let's do a clear here. So whenever we create a new connection, we basically clear everything here. Then let's set status. We need another helper actually. Let me check real quick into the documentation. So usually you learn by just doing trial and error, but sometimes it's better just to read the documentation instead of doing all that guess So let's just create all the helpers then. Um, function set status. Okay, I need the status text here, and here status element dot text content equals text. Okay. Let's also create the helper for updating the current scene. So function update current scene, and we're just parsing the name current scene, current scene name equals. I think I haven't. Here, let's just make name because I don't want to have other issues later on. So going back here, current scene name equals name. Okay, current scene element dot text content equals current scene name, or oops, or let's just give it nothing. Then we are going to render scenes. Okay, now we need the render scenes function. Now here, let's just take the scenes elements and clear the inner HTML. Okay. Now we are grabbing all global scenes and loop through each of the scenes. So scene. Okay. Let's create some buttons. Out of them, const btn equals document create element button, and let's just give it a class name equals scene btn, and btn dot text content, it's going to be the scene dot scene name. Where can you find all these data? All you have to do is go to OBS Studio Websocket Protocol 5.0 documentation. You will be led to this page. And if you're going to find to look for get current program scene, and click on it, we will be able to access the name, UID, current program scene name, and current program scene UID. Okay. Let's go back to our code. Now, here let's make a check if scene dot scene name equals current scene name, then we are going to set the status of our button to active. So btn dot class list dot add active. Okay, and we also need to wire the toggle event. So btn dot add event listener on click the function. Now here we are going to send a request later on. So I'll just leave it empty because I need to create the send request method. And we also need scenes element dot append child, and we are going to append our button. Okay, now I'm going to create the render. No, I'm going to create the send request method because this is one of the most important methods that we need here. I will be creating this ain't gonna be a helper. It will be a core functions, and let's create the function send request, and we need to parse the request type, request data, which is an object, and the meta, that's also an object. Again, here we need to check for the WebSocket status, but because I don't have it, I will just write it and comment everything. So if not WebSocket or vs.ready ready state not equals WebSocket dot open, or just if not is ready. Then we are going to short circuit and also log the error, so cannot send the request type. Let us say OBS is not ready. And as I said, I'm going to comment this for now. Then const id equals string request id plus plus. This tells OBS Studio this is a new request. And we are going to pend these requests. So pending requests dot set, we are giving the ID, so we can just nicely map it, request type, and our meta. Okay. And now, if you remember what I said in the introduction, now we are going to send the WebSocket request to OBS Studio, but on this time, let me go back to the slides. Here, if you remember, we have the request Opcode 6. That means sending the request. And for this, we just write WebSocket.send JSON dot stringify. We are going to send a JSON object, so let's stringify it. Now, as I said here, we are going to send the Opcode 6. So OP, it's 6. And our D object is going to be the request type. Request ID, which is going to be the ID. And of course, the request data, which I misspelled. So request data. This means we are sending a request and we are expecting a response from OBS Studio. And now, where was it? Here. Now we can just wire it. We can just wire it here. So when we click the button, we are sending the request. Let's find the actual request. So somewhere here, get current, we are going to use the set current program scene. So we need a scene name or scene UID. All right. Then, come on, I forgot to copy paste it. Set current program scene. Okay. And for the request data, we are going to pass the scene name, which is our actual scene dot scene name. Okay, that's it. Now, if I refresh and go back to OBS Studio, of course, I can connect, but I don't have the handshake yet from OBS Studio. So if I go, I also don't have the listing yet, and not the disconnect. There's a lot of things that we still need to do. So I'll just go back to coding the stuff. For the audio, I have just to copy paste this, and I will call render audio. It's the same principle, but instead of for each here, I need to use for const input of audio inputs dot values. We have to do this because we defined map. So again, we create the button. We give it a class name. This will be audio. Let's make the text content a bit more specific. So we have the input dot input name, and here we can use input dot input muted, Again, you can find all these informations in the documentation under the get input data. Okay, so if it's muted, I'm just going to write muted. Otherwise, unmuted. And we can also style to make it look nicer. So btn dot class list dot add. I can just copy paste this. And we'll make muted or unmuted. Of course, here I don't have a current status. And instead of set current program scene, I need toggle input. Yes, we can use this toggle input mute. And we just need the input name. So toggle input mute, input name equals input dot input name. Okay, so we have the renderers and we have the renderers ready, and in our clear data, I need to call render scenes and render audio. Okay. And I can also update the current scene, just make it empty, I guess. Okay, so we have the render scenes, we have the render audio, we have the log helper, we have the authentication helpers, update scene, set status, and clear data. Now the send request should also work correctly. Sweet. Now let's focus on creating the connection, just to see if we can connect to OBS Studio earlier. So we check the connection open. We know the connection is open because we already tested it. Now let's add WebSocket, add event listener for message. And in this message, we have an event. Okay. Let message. Now, the first thing we need to do is making sure that our message is a JSON object. So for that, we just do try message equals JSON.parse. And we just try to parse our event.data. Okay. Otherwise, we can return the error, but I just prefer to return a generic error because, of course, if it's not a valid JSON, I really don't care, because OBS Studio should always return a normal JSON. If you want to log everything, you can catch an exception and also console log the exception. But I just prefer to send an invalid JSON received, and short circuit everything, return. Because if you don't have something valid to work with, we can just return. Now, just for a heck of it, let's test what we have in the message. Because now, if I open this and refresh, let's open the console as well and just hit connect. Oh, the input values, it's not iterable. Of course, because it's null. Everything it's locked on. But if I disable the clear data, let's clear the console as well and reopen, refresh. Okay, so we received our hello OP code. So if you remember, we have the first OP code for the life cycle, which is 0. And OBS Studio is giving us the challenge and the solve. Now we must compare with the hashes that are created from our URL and password here. Now, in order to do that, here, let's switch message.op. And just go with case 0. Oops. Now, if message op is 0, const hello equal message.d and const authentication equals hello.authentication. So I just grabbed the informations from here. Okay, now I can log that I received the hello from OBS Studio. So basically OBS Studio is inviting me to join as a member, not as a guest. And now if I have the out, basically if I have these two parameters, I can go further with implementing the authentication. And what I should do here, I want to try to use the cryptography and build a const authentication equals build authentication. And here I need to pass the OBS password, the auth.salt, and also the auth.challenge. So this is going to match what we received from OBS Studio, which has the same cryptography that we use. If those strings are matching, that means we have the correct password and we can connect to OBS Studio WebSocket. And in order to do that, again, I just realized I passed some steps. So I'll go back to, so I created the hello, which comes from this object. then the authentication data, which comes from this D object. Then, if we have those parameters, we can build the authentication. And now I have to go back to the slides because we are going to the step number 2 in the life cycle, identifying the client logs and tell OBS Studio that we have the data and we can join as member, not as guest. So for that, we just send JSON.stringify, and we are stringifying this OP1 and the RPC version. We are going to use version 1. We are sending the authentication object and event subscriptions. It's our event subscriptions. Okay. Now let's just log it. Send identify with password. So basically, we send our password to OBS Studio, and OBS Studio is going to check whether the password is correct or not. Okay. Then we catch the error here, just in case we have an error. And we log authentication error. And here we just put our error message. And of course, if we want debug, we just console log. Actually, we can just console error, our error. Okay. And I don't even need to use switch here. Actually, so let's see. We are sending the authentication. Let's put here else vs dot send. So if we don't have the authentication, we are still sending, just in case we have deselected the required authentication, we still want to try to authenticate. So I'm going to send JSON.stringify. The OP is still 1, but for the D, I'm just sending the RPC version, which is 1, and event subscriptions, which is event subscriptions here. Okay, and now here we can log send identify without password. Okay. Now if I save and if I go to refresh the page, it should be at least receiving whether OBS Studio sent me the handshake or not. So I received hello from OBS Studio, and I sent the identification with the password. But now I need to capture whether OBS Studio sent me the Opcode number 2. This means I'm allowed to connect and send requests. And for that, if we go back to the code, and here add a case 2, let's just break here. Actually, I don't want to keep this state for long, so I just return. So I want to return here as well, because I don't want to break the state of the WebSocket. So if we received the opcode number 2 is ready, it turns to true, then we are going to set the status that we are connected. Let's also log this and ready. And of course, refresh everything and return. Okay, now let's subscribe to OBS Studio events. That means we are capturing case number 5. Oops. And if you remember, number 5 allows us to capture the events that OBS Studio sends to our interface. Now, let's capture the event type first. Event type equals message .d, and let's make sure we have the event type, and we also need the event data .d event data. Okay, now we can just log. So our event is event type. Okay, now let's capture some event types. So here I'm going to add another switch. I know it's not really professional what I'm doing, but it is how it is. This is just a new friendly tutorial. So if you want to optimize it, you can just grab this code, put it on ChatGPT or any other AI, and you'll have an optimized code. But let's just write and not forget what we are doing. So I'm going to switch to event type, and I want to capture the current program scene change. So let's see, current program scene change. So I want to capture this one. So I get the scene name and scene UID. Okay. And if I capture it, forgot copy paste copy. So if event type is current program scene change, here I need to break. I want to update the current scene to event data dot scene name. Okay, and the same thing in case, oops, I think it's when scene list changed, but let's just do a double check because I'm not really confident if it's the right one. Yes, it's scene list changed, so I get an array of scenes on this one. That means I want to send request to get scene list and also send request to get current get current program scene. Let's just copy this. Okay, so whenever a scene changed, I want to get the refreshed list and the current scene, because it's usually OBS Studio, when you create a new scene, it makes the new scene visible. Okay, let's just I will leave the audio for later. Actually, let's just wire everything now. So case input mute state changed. No, const item equals audio inputs dot get event data dot input name. Okay. So here I'm just trying to get that input, and if it exists, so if item dot input muted equals not event, actually event data dot input muted. This means toggling it. So audio inputs set event data dot input name item. Okay, we re-render the audio. Okay, and now we just have a few other input types. So we have 3 different cases here. When input is created, input is removed, or input name changed. Whenever any of these things happens, I'm just going to send a new request. Send request get input list. So whenever I'm modifying the name or create or remove any audio input source, I just want to get the new list, the new updated list. Okay. Now that we are done with case 5, we can go to case 7 to actually capture and render the data we received from OBS Studio. So if you remember, the Opcode 7 is basically the request response from OBS Studio. And here we have to write a bit more code, but don't worry, it's not that hard if you followed every step so far. So here we just get our data equal message.id, message.d, sorry, const track equals pending requests dot get dot request id. Otherwise, we just give an empty object. That means we this is the original request, and const request type equal dot request type, or tracked dot request type. Otherwise, we just set to unknown request type. Okay, now some basic checks here. If not data dot request status and result. Let's log it. Failed request type with the data dot request status comment, or no request status here. Of course, I forgot to switch again. This is why you need to use the WebSockets, because sometimes you may forget to switch your scenes when you are going from a scene to another, and you can automate this to trigger what other scenes to toggle whenever you do something in even on Windows. If you create a .NET application, you can wire it through the WebSocket, and whenever you switch to any Windows, you can automatically switch your scenes. Okay, now that we have this, pending requests dot delete data dot request id. Okay, and now we can just return here. Okay, now we can create another switch here for request type. Case get send list. So if we capture this result, then our scenes equals data dot response data. Otherwise, we just have an empty array. And of course, we render the scenes. Okay. Case. Let's just copy real quick and get current program scene. Also have we also have the set current. We also have the get input list. Okay, we get the input mute. And we also have the toggle input mute. Okay. Now, so we have the get the scenes list. On the get current program scene, was data dot response data current scene name, otherwise empty string. Update current scene with scene name. Here, I just need to log that we just changed the current scene. Now, when we get the inputs list, data dot response data and inputs, otherwise nothing. We're going to clear the inputs first, then inputs dot okay, but how do we know if our sources, because the inputs are sources, how do we know they are audio? Let's check into the documentation. Okay, I will just do an abstraction here. I found something that we can use. Let's just paste it on the helpers. This is basically a function that verifies if any metadata for the sources can tell us if that source is actually an audio input source. And if I go back here, I can check whether, let's see, inputs filter. Looks like audio input. And here we can put the for each. Input dot set okay, puts kind how is this called? Basically input kind or just some empty stuff and input muted false. Okay, this shouldn't be there. And now let's render audio and request mute states. I will need to request all the mute states for all the inputs. And for that, I also found an helper which I forgot where it is. Let's just build it under the helpers. Function request mute states. And here, for each input, of audio inputs dot values, send request. Let's just copy the request, get input mute, and then input name, okay. And I'm also parsing the metadata, input name, again input dot input name. Okay, let's also create the disconnect function, but this goes into the core. So here, function disconnect OBS. So this is simple. If we have the WebSocket connection, then we just close it, give it the time span, and manual disconnect. Okay. Let's just remove it from here. Let's also create the refresh role. So we almost have the complete setup. Okay, so here in refresh all, if it's not is ready, just return. And we need to send request 3 times for 3 events, because we need to get the scenes list, we need the current program scene, and we need the get input lists to be able to create our audio sources list. Running out of voice. All right, now let's continue. So we've done with the get inputs list. Now for the get input mute, let's say const input name equals track dot meta dot input name. So, and if we have the input name and audio inputs has this input, we are going to grab the input from the audio inputs. And we are going to work with this one. So item dot input muted equals not data dot response data. Let's make sure it exists so it's not crashing. Input muted. Audio inputs dot set input name. It's our item, and we render the audio. And on toggle input muted, all you have to do is send a request for get input list. And once you are done with this, so okay, once you are done with this, we must clear all the pending requests. So pending requests dot delete data dot request ID. Okay, so we are also done with case 7 when we received the response. Now let's add the close event listener. Add event listener on close. Again, we have the event. And here, all we want to do is set it's ready to false. VS is null. And set status to disconnected. Okay. And we also need to set an event listener for error. Again, we capture the event and set status to error. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, if all the code was correct, we should have a complete working overflow workload, sorry, not overflow. Okay, so right here I'm connected and I'm ready, but I'm not receiving the list. Request type is not defined. Okay, I think this is where I need to uncomment all that. Oh, not here. Let's connect again. No, it's still throwing the error that already stated. It's not. So WebSocket ready state. I think I may have forgot something. Let me recheck. All right, I think I know what is causing this issue. I just realized this statement, it's basically outside the outside the statement. Now, if I try to connect again, let's see where it's throwing. Audio inputs value is not iterable. We had this error before. And I think I already know why, because that's a function. So here must be the issue. Let's try again. Okay, so it's connected and ready, but it's still throwing error. Request type is not defined. Okay, it was right in front of my eyes. I mistyped the request type here. Now if I save this and recheck, actually let's refresh this. And voila, we have a working, almost working, because in render audio, I think since I just copy pasted, I think I forgot to change. So here in render audio, I need the audio element and here as well the audio element. All right. Now, if I refresh and connect again, I'm getting some error again. No setting inner HTML render audio. How do I name that? Ah, Okay. Let's try again. And voila, we have it here. Now, if I check on my phone, let's refresh everything. So, as you can see, hopefully you can see. Okay. Now, if I connect, as you can see, I already was able to get my scenes and my audio sources directly from OBS Studio. Now, we can also test it. As you can see, I have the connections opened here. And if let me see if you can, okay. If I go to scene 3, for example, it automatically switches to scene 3. Same thing with scene 2. And of course, for the audio sources, it mutes and unmutes the sources. Okay, but I'm not very satisfied because I want to give it a nice style. So let's just open this. And here, let's open a style tag. Just put it here. Okay. Now, what I usually do, because I want this to be responsive, just create a meta char set UTF-8, and I need to set the viewport. So meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device width, and initial scale equals 1.0. That's it. Now this should make it look better on the mobile right away. So if I open up the application on the phone again, it's already scaling nicely to the phone. And now we just have to apply some styles on it. Okay, so I'll just make something simple. Let's create a small reset style. And for the body, I just set margins to 0. For the font family, I will be using, let's just go with Career New. Okay. I'm gonna make it a little gray. And for that, I think it's 111, 7, something like that. Okay. Color white. And I need a padding of 20 pixels. Okay. For the headers, we set margin top to 0 on the box. And I want a border. And the derived gray for one. Okay, let's give it a radius of 16 pixels and the margin bottom of 20 pixels. I think it's more than enough. Let's see. It's looking good so far. Okay, now let's style the rows. Set the display to flex because I want it to look good on mobile. Text wrap. I'm going to wrap it, and I need a gap of 10 pixels. Okay. Now let's also give some padding here. I'll set it to 16 pixels because I want to be exactly just like the border, the radius. Okay, now let's style the buttons. Border, don't want a border. 8 pixels. Okay. Let's give a padding. Oops. And 16 pixels just to make the buttons be a bit bigger. This is basically useless, but okay, because I want to use it on phone, so I don't really need the cursor style. Let's give it a background of 374151. Okay, color white and font size 14 pixels. All right, looking good so far. Let's give it power effect. I'll just change the background to 4B5563. Okay, and let's give it a transition. All 0.3 seconds. Okay, looking good so far. Now for the scene BTN. Detective. I want to give a green background here. So 256 3EB. No, I want green. Okay. For audio BTN dot muted, I want the background red, so F, but I don't want that bright red. I want something like this, more pale, and audio btn dot unmuted. Here I just copy a color. Let's just use the active color from here. Okay. Now let's also style the log. And border radius 8 pixels should be enough. Padding 12 pixels. White space pre-wrap. Font size, let's make it 13 pixels. Max height 240 pixels, and overflow auto. Okay, and for the status, font weight bold, and margin bottom, let's just make it 8 pixels. Okay, that should be enough. So now if I connect, btn active. Ah, okay, it works now. Okay, and if I disconnect, connect again, refresh. It looks like that, that the style is not refreshing. Oh, okay. Now, let's see how it looks on the phone. Beautiful. This is what we have on the phone now. Let me resize this. So here I just hit connect. I'm connected. I have all my sources and all my audio sources. And if I open up OBS Studio again, as you can see, if I press any of the sources, it automatically switches, mutes, unmutes, everything. So basically, this is how you can create your own Stream Deck if you know a bit of coding, and with a bit of help from AI, you can create a beautiful Stream Deck in just a couple of hours by using the OBS Studio Websocket Protocol 5.0. So again, if you like this video and want more tutorials like this one, please subscribe to my channel, comment, share this video, and thank you for watching, guys. See you on the next one.